welcome back to The Short Game. This is a show about short video games, games that respect your time. I'm Raygan Kelly, and I'm joined by my awesome co-hosts.
Me, Nate Heininger.
And me, Laura Nash.
And this week we are talking about, very appropriately for Valentine's Day, Monster Prom. Monster Prom came out earlier this, or I was going to say, I'm still writing 2018 on all of my, I don't write checks because I'm a millennial, but all of the
Your
equivalents.
correspondence.
Yes. I'm still citing 2018 on all of my tweets. It came out in April of last year, and we're just now getting to it, but it's super cute and fun.
Yeah, this might be our most timely episode ever. We're normally doing...
Hey, don't jinx it. It might take me 3 weeks to edit.
That's fair. But even still, our intent is pure. It's like, normally we're doing Halloween-esque episodes around now, and then we get, into the romantic games in like the middle of the summer.
Well, what's great about this game is it could easily function for either. So we could,
great point.
If we really screw up on the editing, I'll just release this in October and we'll be fine.
Yep.
Yes, and it was our intent to smooch some virtual bows and girls and booze, I suppose, given this game. But unfortunately, some of us are unlucky in love, as you will find out through our review. Monster Prom is great. We're bad at dating.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Speak
Some
for yourself.
of you
I'm great
are.
at dating.
Casanova.
I was cock-blocked. Badly cock-blocked. We'll talk about that in a minute. Nate.
Hey, it's in the game of love, there can only be one winner. And
Absolutely.
It was me.
However, in Monster Prom, we picked it because it was a competitive game you could all play together, and we thought it would be that everyone got to smooch someone, but what it turned out is that Raygan and I are just awful.
We just struck out, man.
Nate is really, really good at
Hey.
romancing demons.
Yeah. Well, when you find the one,
So Monster Prom is it can be competitive. It doesn't have to be because you can play this single player. So I should probably just set it up what the game is. It is a sort of visual novel style dating sim in which you are a student at a monster high school. I think it's called like Spooky High or Spook High or something like that. And you are, it's 3 weeks till prom, which is Monster Prom, of course, which is very important to all of the monsters who attend this high school.
The most important.
Well, of course.
And so you have 3 weeks of visual novel style interactions to get to know all of the various monster hotties at the school and to woo them through your various stats and to ask them to prom and hopefully get your prom invitation accepted. And the game has many hundreds of potential events that can crop up as you play. It's really a neat structure, and it's really designed to be a game that you can play again and again, either by yourself, hopefully, trying different things, trying different paths through the game, and trying to woo the monsters of your dreams. Or you can play it essentially as a party game, which is how we all played it. So you can play this game with 2, 3, or 4 players, and if you play it that way, it's competitive, which is a really unusual thing for a dating game.
Yes, I had originally referred this to a friend who had played Dream Daddy and wanted something equally lovable and ludicrous. And she's been playing with her boyfriend, and she delights in whoever he goes after stealing them from him. And she is like, I have won this game multiple times. Thank you. And I was like, I don't think you should thank me. Like, how is your love life? You guys have a healthy relationship most of the time, but this is not healthy. I love you, Nicole.
I played this a couple of times with Jamie as well. And I mean, Jamie's not a person who loves video games generally, but like this game worked for her. I think this will work for almost anybody because it has that sort of party game vibe, but it's also full of humor and full of really fun art. And it's just a really cute, fun. I hesitate to really call it a dating sim because while it certainly uses dating sim mechanics and tropes, it's not the kind of thing that you think of when you think of a dating sim. This is more about like it's almost like a party game where you're trying to either help each other or screw each other over on the way to try and get that date to prom. It's fun. It's really neat.
Yeah, in some ways, it made me think of like a board game.
Yeah.
You have your character sheet, which this game has stats like charm and fun and money, and there's items that can increase those things or decrease those things. And you are presented with a sort of, to a degree, random set of circumstances where you try to pick the one that will help you the best and see how it goes. Much like rolling dice in a board game, or trying to make, you set up like a system and try to make educated choices about the goal that you're trying to complete. In this game, it's woo a monster of your dreams, but you don't really know how it's going to go. And you just kind of hope it's going to go for the best. And that way it really felt like a board game. And it felt like when I had the opportunity to, and it's very obvious, I had the opportunity to either tell Raygan's girl, she approached me on like a random encounter and asked me what I thought of Raygan's character.
Ouch.
And I forget what the positive thing was, but the negative thing was that I thought he was a communist. And of course I'm going to go with that, so I called Raygan a communist and ultimately
Prom for me.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
And what's even better is that there was no reason, because we weren't wooing the same person.
You're just a jerk.
In hindsight, I did feel bad because, I want more love in this world, but it was funny in the moment and I will never take it back.
That's really what the game is about. The game is basically made up of events. So to kind of describe the structure a little bit, the game is made up of 3 in-game weeks, but each week is 3 or 4 events. So there'll be like a morning at school, a lunchtime at school, an evening at school, and then a weekend. And then you repeat that cycle 3 times. And then there's prom. Each of those sort of events, the morning or the lunchtime or what have you, has a huge pool of potential events that can happen. And the events are usually things like, 2 characters that you might potentially be wooing are, you walk up to them in some kind of funny circumstance, some weird stuff happens, and it gives you a choice between option A or option B in order to give you some sort of a choice. And that choice is going to determine whether you look cool to the monster of your dreams or whether you look like a loser to the monster of your dreams, usually resulting in some kind of stat increase or decrease.
And something I loved about the choices is that sometimes the choices about who of those 2 people would, like you more is extremely obvious. Like, football guy likes football. Dunzo. But there's also things like, am I good enough to pull this off? For me, the real challenge is something I love in any visual novel, any interactive fiction, which is one of them will help me more, but the other one is so much more fun and I want to know what happens. What happens if I get naked and try to sword fight with a ferret? Very bad things if you're not very charming, and the alien is way hotter than you. Just warning anybody in that unlikely situation.
Yeah, that was a
bad times for Laura.
Yeah, that was a big sort of like aha moment for us while we were all playing last night, which is you think that the choices are just gonna be A and B, and like one is good for character on the left and one is good on character for the right. But to Laura's point, like some of them you have to have the skill to pull off, much like a Fallout game or something, right? Like Science 4 in order to do this. But you don't know that until you've already selected it, and a little like emoji bubble pops up and tells you whether you did it or didn't. So there was one later after we'd sort of figured out that system that I was thinking, oh, that seems to be like the harder one. I bet it needs creativity, and my character had a lot of creativity. So I was like, I bet I can do that. So I clicked on that one, or technically Raygan clicked on it for me because we were playing through Skype, and it said I wasn't bold enough. So I had like misinterpreted, and it went horrible for my character. It was not creative at all. It was bold, and I ended up losing all of these stats. So it ends up being like the sort of metagame within that too, because it's like you want to make the choice that'll look good for the character you want, but then you have to think, do you have the skill to do the thing? And then you have to think, what skill even is that? And it ended up being a little bit more complicated, and again, more like a board game than I was expecting a monster dating game.
Yeah, but I think because it was so silly, I didn't ever get a sense of unfairness. Like,
Yeah.
I played a game called Long Live the Queen, which is
Oh, yeah.
I think more interesting than fun. It's basically a princess simulator, but it is like an Excel spreadsheet simulator, and that like things come out of nowhere and you just die. And I liked it as a concept, but I liked this a lot more because even though I didn't, I could predict in Long Live the Queen to a certain extent, I need dancing lessons to pass this. In this one, I might not know exactly which stat it's drawing on, but it's so ludicrous and just out of nowhere that even when I fail, I'm still entertained. And my thing about a board game is I want to have fun when I'm doing badly. And this game delivered.
Exactly. So that moment when I thought it was supposed to be creativity, but it was bold, is actually the last round of the game. And it hurt me. Like the outcome was so bad that I was certain that I had just lost. Like I figured that was done. But it was like, oh yeah, that was actually way more bold than creativity. I'm dumb. The outcome is funny. I don't care. Like I immediately was like, I don't care. Like this is funny, and that is as fun as if I had made the right choice. So it didn't really matter. Ultimately, I still had done enough to woo the demon's heart, but at the time, I thought I'd screwed it up, and I didn't care anyway.
Not every single event is hilarious. Every single event is a joke. They don't all land, but because there's such an incredible volume of potential events, and because each one of them is only a minute or two, the game stayed consistently funny throughout. So I definitely thought some of the jokes didn't land. Just some of the jokes were maybe not to my taste, but others were like really, really, really funny. This game was written by 3 different people. There's Corey O'Brien, Maggie Herskowitz, and Julian Keano. They are trying a lot of different stuff here. There's apparently something like 1,000. They say there's 1,000 funny and absurd situations and hundreds of events. I'm not actually quite sure how that balances out.
It's probably branching, because when you start taking items into effect, like I totally buy that there's 100 base events and 1,000 versions.
There's actually probably way more than 100. There's a little meter when you finish the game that goes up and shows you like how many of the events you've completed. And I've played through the game 5 times now, and I think I'm way under 10%. So there's a lot of content here, like a lot of potential events, which is good in a game that only takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour to play, or 90 minutes with larger groups, and expects you to play it multiple times, kind of party game or board game style.
Yeah, for sure. The humor is like a blend of kind of irreverent or internet humor or like pop culture humor. So absolutely there are some that land really, really well, and there's some that don't. I mean, that's how most comedy games go.
Yeah. So like, for example, there's some events that are kind of parodies of Pokemon Go called Pokemon Go, where the monsters are playing a game where there are humans.
Insurance adjusters.
Right. So I didn't find that there were funny bits in that, don't get me wrong, but like that wasn't the funniest thing. But like it's a joke that definitely would land for you if you were into Pokemon Go, or maybe if I don't know. That was a joke that might work for some people and not for others.
Please be my friend in Pokemon Go.
But like there were other parts of the game where like just like the dry like humor of it was just like extremely funny. Like,
one example is that we inexplicably got 2 different storylines about people getting paid to eat for other people. Like one storyline was about a weird businessman watching 2 girls eat. That was his specific fetish. And one was a Medusa who had snakes eating, and the other one was a ghost who was just pretending to eat. And yet there was a second people paying someone to watch them eat storyline about like competitive snake eating. So I wouldn't even count those as the same scenarios. We just inexplicably, roll of the dice, had 2 fetishistic eating scenarios, and I found both of them very funny.
Both of them were very funny.
What that says
and
about
like
me.
that one in particular that you're talking about with where the Polygeist, the ghost girl, was eating. Everything about her was so funny because she was all caps saying like, I'm definitely eating normal food with my real human mouth, that kind of thing. Because of course she's a ghost, she can't really eat. It was very, very funny. Like all of the characters have these standout funny moments, and all of them have like a very distinct characterization. It's very high school comedy by way of monsters, and so all of the characters obviously have this monster archetype that they are, but they also all have this high school archetype that they are. You have the party girl and the incredibly stern and serious girl, and you have the jock who's an airhead, and you have the hot brooding weirdo, and it just
the arsonist.
The arsonist. It just so happens that the hot brooding weirdo is literally a demon, and the party girl is a ghost, and the very stern, serious, business-minded girl is a gorgon with snake hair. Like, it's great archetypes that they play on, both from the these guys are monsters angle and also from the really funny high school comedy stuff angle.
I mean, it also feels like the silly, horny teens of the CW in that, but they're not
Very
taking themselves
CW.
seriously at all. There's a lot of jokes about dicks and raves and cocaine and pills, but none of it is in the after-school special style where they're taking it seriously. This is all like, hey, I'm a ghost. I did, my purse is full of meth. That's the joke.
Yeah, it is surprisingly dirty's not the right word for it, but they definitely make a lot
Body,
of,
in a way.
Yeah. It's not it's not shying away from anything. It's not graphic. It's but it's not shying away from anything. They're not afraid to curse. They're not afraid to describe lurid scenarios. But also, it's not porny.
You don't get to have sex with any of these characters.
Yeah.
Your dating is PG. But the game is closer to PG-13R.
Let's say PG-13 for
Yeah.
dating, because definitely a lot of talk about what they'd like to do, but not a whole lot.
But you don't
nothing
do
graphic or on
anything.
screen. Yeah,
They're all talk.
Yeah, exactly. Typical teens. Although, of course, they're not teens because because
Everyone
of
is
the
over the age of
here.
consent.
Yeah, they very pointedly made all of the characters 19, 20, 25. One character is 400 some odd years old because, of course, vampire. But, of course, they're all also in high school. Why? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Again, it's like Smallville, where everyone in high school is 30. It just go with it.
Or every single show that pretends that people are in high school. They're all in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah, early in the game, I will say that the art is in that really fun, it looks like fan art for a fake TV show. It's in that really fun Tumblr concept art type look, drawn by Arthur Tien. And early in the game, I kept commenting on how short everyone's shorts were, and how inappropriate they were, because it is a game with a lot of short shorts. If you like that on illustrated characters.
Well, you got to look good if you're trying to find someone for Monster Prom.
They are the 6 most charming monsters at school.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like the art for this. So the style, I think that describing it as kind of like fan art for a show that doesn't exist is a good way to put it. I think if you like the art style for things like, I don't know, Steven Universe or Adventure Time, but you also like things where they're willing to put in a lot of effort to put in more detail than you would typically see in a lot of that kind of art. It's very expressive, very cartoony, but also there's a ton of love for the characters in this. The characters all have many, many different facial expressions, all of which are very bright and cartoony and interesting, just sort of magnetic characters. And they all have multiple different outfits that change depending on the situation. They have different, some mostly similar body poses, but occasionally there's definitely some special poses in there. So for a visual novel, this has a lot of art, and all of it is really attractive. And I just call it magnetic. It's very, it just makes you want to engage with these characters. It makes you want to date some of them, and they're just really cute.
It seems like they've done seasonal updates. We're coming up on, this is hopefully being released on Valentine's Day, and there's going to be DLC. But before that, they've done some seasonal updates, including everyone gets cool summer bikini outfits, and also apparently Damien has a war with the sun. They've done a lot of little
That's
cute,
my boy.
Yeah, winter updates where everyone has snow outfits. So I think if you like the art, they're keeping. They know that art is one of the really appealing things about this game, and they're giving more of it, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely,
yeah, that's fun. That's apps that are updating their icon to be Christmas themed. Only this game is just updating all of their characters to be Christmas themed. That's awesome. Molly pointed out there's a book series from like the late 80s, early 90s called Fifth Grade Monsters, which I think shares some DNA with this game. Just if those monsters had grown up to be adults, or
it also literally is it's quite a bit like the very popular kids doll and straight to DVD property Monster High.
Yeah,
which
sure.
is not to my taste, but I have to admit to one day realizing that the entirety of one of the many Monster High movies was just uploaded to YouTube in full for some reason. And so I clicked on it and watched a good 40 minutes of it because I hate myself and had nothing better to do.
There were better things you could do.
There were definitely better things I could have done with that 40 minutes. I don't know why. I think Jamie and I were just sitting there watching it and sort of making fun of it. But like, it's a lot like this, except there are no boys in it. I don't think it's the most original idea in the world to have like a monster high school. I've seen other things that do that, but this does it really well and makes it kind of just engaging enough to make you want to date these characters. And I thought we should probably just talk about who some of these characters are, which ones we particularly wanted to date, and how it went for each of us. So the characters that you can date, there are 6 of them in the current version of the game. I think they might be expanding that with some DLC.
Yes. As of today, whoever is listening to this, there are new characters being released on Valentine's Day.
I can't wait to check that out. But there's the characters that we were able to date when we were checking out the game. Let's see.
So straight from the intro. So the first thing you do is you take a little quiz on who you are, but you also get to pick out these 6 people, who you want to date. And you've got Miranda Vanderbilt, a sweet mermaid princess who is as cute as she was genocidal.
Love her.
None of us actually dated Miranda. I tried to briefly, but she was elusive.
In a game I played with Jamie, I initially went after her, but about halfway through the game, I realized that I did not like her because she was far too aristocratic. And so I decided to change focus, and then I ended up with no one at prom.
Who's your D&D character, Raygan?
I mean, yes.
Next up is Damien LaFay, a fearless demon with a taste for destruction and a love of fire and a love of Nate's character, Romango.
Yeah, it's funny how it worked because when I was starting out, the game kind of like, by way of the quiz at the beginning, I guess sort of like suggests someone that you should go after or sort of implies that you might be best fit for someone. And so my original attempt at wooing someone was with the Wolfman.
Scott Howell, a werewolf athlete.
But there was a point in really, really early on. I'd made like one decision that was pro Scott Howell. But the next time I had a decision point, the 2 choices, one of them I just like really didn't like the answer. I forget what it was, but it was something stupid. And so I was like, I don't even care if this hurts my relationship with Wolfman. I'm gonna do the other one. And when I did that one, it actually like gave me points towards Damien. I was like, all right, I guess that's who I'm going for. And so from that point through the rest of the game, everything I did was to try to win the heart of Damien, which is funny because when we played Dream Daddy, this is another thing that Molly pointed out to me. The person that I went after in that game was also Damien.
I forgot about Damien in that game.
So
you have a type and it's men named Damien.
Yeah. The other characters, let's see. We've got Polly Geist, the ghost lady who's also a party girl, kind of a California Valley girl, killed and come back to life kind of vibe. And let's see, we've got Vera. What was Vera's last name?
Oberlin,
of course, so aristocratic. But Vera Oberlin is the Gorgon who stole my heart. She's very business-minded and stern, but of course, you know my type. And who am I missing?
Last up is Liam de Lioncourt, the hipster vampire, who we all kind of were like, I think he made a Balzac joke. We were all like, done.
I kind of hated him, but the one time in one of the games that I played with Jamie, I ended up dating him mostly just because it just kept throwing me into events with him, and just essentially by accident we ended up going to prom. But also, I don't like that guy. Don't like him. He's the 400-year-old hipster vampire, and he's such a cliche, but he's kind of cute. And something about this that I probably should have mentioned, any of these characters is open to be dated. So according to the description by the developers, monsters don't like boys or girls. They like monsters. In Monster Prom, the game experience is unaffected by gender or sexual orientation, since finding love is already hard enough. So, of course, you do get to pick your gender and your pronouns at the beginning of the game. So it gives you a choice of 4 characters to play as, and they're color-coded. They're all really cute illustrations. You can pick between a very cute sort of Frankenstein-looking girl character. You can pick a Frankenstein-y looking boy character.
Hulk man.
Yeah, there's a weird black shape. What is he supposed to be? I can't even tell. The guy with the like blank black outline.
Yeah, he doesn't really have eyes. I don't know. He monster.
Yeah.
Some kind of creepy dark monster, shadow person.
And then like a fire girl.
Yeah, some kind of burning woman. They're all really cute illustrations too. I love that it doesn't just give you like generic like outlines or something to play as. It gives you something you can connect with a little bit. And those 4 player character illustrations, obviously you're picking it at the beginning and it shows up in things like dialogue choices, but also of course when you get to the end of the game and you're going on your date, you get these very cute illustrations of them. So it's nice that it lets you pick. But in addition to that, of course, you can pick your pronouns, and you can date any of the monsters regardless of your sexual orientation or gender identity, etc. So I like that about it, particularly because like with 6 characters, you want to leave it open.
So we've mentioned that this is a multiplayer game, and it's not as straightforward as just, one person goes, the next person goes, the next person goes. First of all, it's really fun to make fun of people when they make decisions, and it's really fun to hear people talk aloud because we like it when good things happen to our friends, and we really like it when bad things happen to our friends.
Yeah.
But what I really enjoyed is they add little things to the game to make it more interactive and multiplayer by just adding little challenges between rows. For example, everyone names a career, and I think I said scuba diving instructor. Raygan said helicopter pilot.
And I said skydiver.
Yeah. And then the game asked, okay, for Raygan, what is the likelihood he will have these careers? Which was 0 on any of them. But we've said maybe it could be a skydiver because that, etc. It's a lot more fun. We talked about who would be most likely to be president, who would get eaten by zombies first.
And this determines turn order. Which is really funny. Yeah, it's a really funny way. And again, it feels like board gamey, right? You're all standing around and you just have to come up with a silly list, and then you have to choose, and that in determining that there is a benefit to go first, right? So you don't know what you're choosing, but then you want to make the right choice, so
I shouldn't have outsourced who would make the worst president to my husband because he's married to me, and of course he's going to say I'm going to make a great president, but that meant I went last.
Yeah. Faster.
Right.
And I couldn't go to the gym, and I was not charming at all, and I failed.
Well,
all his fault.
And that's the part that we haven't talked about, since now we're kind of talking about the multiplayer thing. So there's the challenges, but then there's other things how the player choices can can impact the other player's ability to make a choice. So there's 2 sort of scenarios that you can sort of block someone else from doing something. So first, when whoever goes first, they get to pick, do they want to go, let's say it's morning on week 2. Do they want to go to the auditorium? Do they want to go outdoors? Do they want to go to the gym, etc.? There's like 5 or 6 different choices. And each of those choices have a corresponding skill that by going there, you have an opportunity to increase that skill. And if someone goes there, then the next players can't go there. So if you can go first, you get sort of like your pick of whatever skill or whatever person you're trying to meet. So there's that benefit. So whenever we're doing these little challenges, you're kind of like arguing to a degree to like why yours should be first because you kind of want to go first. But also the scenarios are so silly, you can't really make a logical argument. Like for me, there was one who was, who would die in a zombie apocalypse. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna die quickly. I can't argue that I'm not gonna be there's no argument that I can make, so I'm not gonna get to go first, because there is who would like survive the longest, I think was the question. So I'm like, not me. I cannot sit here and logically argue that I'm gonna live longer than any of you two. So I ended up like second or third.
So all of this with the turn order picking and all that, it was the thing that most kind of made me think about where this game sort of fits into the gaming landscape, how I would pitch this game. And the thing that it most made me think about was a game that I actually don't like very much. In contrast to this, I like this game quite a bit, but I don't so much like Cards Against Humanity. But I think this game is something where if you are in a group where you're in the sort of situation where you might ordinarily whip out something like Cards Against Humanity and play it as a group, playing this instead of that, this would slot in perfectly into that sort of gameplay group or gameplay scenario. Like if you're gonna whip out a game like that, a kind of a loose, funny party game about joking around with each other and having a good time, and eventually somebody gets declared the winner, but what does it really matter? It's not like it's not a super competitive game, just a fun way to spend some time with friends. This game fits perfectly into that niche. So if you have a group of people that you might potentially want to play that kind of game with, and you want to try something a little different from the Cards Against Humanity kind of vibe of thing, this is a really, really good replacement for, or kind of alternative to, that style of thing. Particularly like if you're going to be in front of a computer or something anyway, anything that can play this game, give this a try.
Yeah, you still don't have to come up with the jokes yourself, but it's a little bit less random number generator. And honestly, it's for me, there's better payoff. Like the unknown, because you'll go into these weird situations because the payoff is written and scripted for you. I find it a lot better. I find it a lot. I'm all for a good writer choosing the endings rather than someone throwing down a card they don't care about.
And there's still an involving sort of what feels like a creative aspect to it. You're deciding what type of monster you want to date, and you're making choices about how that monster is going to relate to these other monsters. And the challenges that we were talking about a minute ago are very interactive. But it's not quite the same kind of thing as Cards Against Humanity, where everyone is trying to aggressively prove which of you is the worst person.
This one, you're trying to be the best monster.
Yeah.
And with Cards Against Humanity, you can play up to like 8 players, and you kind of only have to barely pay attention. You can like get up and walk away if you want to miss around. So it's not like perfect, but I would say like also if you've got a couple friends over and you're like going to just sit and watch YouTube videos that are funny. Yeah. Like this is a great replacement for that.
Yeah.
It's a far more interactive, funny thing. I don't know how willingly you could convince like a party atmosphere to go and play this game.
Yeah, not with like a ton of people, but like if you got like 3 or 4 people. Yeah.
Oh my God. I would have played so much of this game in my dorm in college. I was in a performing arts dorm. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Like, we were desperate in playing Civ. Like, this game would have been just kryptonite. We would have all failed all of our classes.
Totally. And something else about the multiplayer of it that I wasn't quite sure about until I actually got into it and played. It's set up to be a really convenient game to play in those kinds of scenarios. A big part of that is just that, like, you can play it in a lot of different ways. You can play this game with everybody sitting in front of one computer, with somebody using a mouse and keyboard to click, or, you can do a kind of a pass and play. It works with a game controller, so you can have one game controller and pass it around, or you can have 4 game controllers and everybody has their own. And it has online play. I haven't actually tried the online play because it actually works perfectly fine. To what we did was, I pulled it up on my computer, I did a Skype screen sharing session, and we all played it that way, which worked just fine. So it's really flexible. Like, you could play this game in a lot of different scenarios. You don't have to have some special setup with, like, I love Towerfall, for example, but it's super hard to get that game going because you have to have, if you have 4 people, you have to have 4 controllers, you have to have everything set up just so. And of course, you have to have people that are like willing to play that with you. This can work in so many more situations.
Do you remember when we played, this is when you still lived in St. Louis, and we played Towerfall before it was available on the PS4, and we had that elaborate set of extensions and connectors to plug into your computer to plug into the TV? That was ridiculous.
So complicated.
Yeah, we had 4 controllers going into a hub, which was going to several adapters to get into your computer, which then your adapter was connected to the TV.
It just took so long to set up. This is a really convenient multiplayer game. Like, you can literally just throw a laptop on the ottoman and everybody play it together that way, and it'll work just as well as it would in a different scenario where everybody's got 4 controllers and it's on a 4K TV or something. What if I told you that the world was gonna end and you had 15 minutes to spend with me or your friend? Would you take the first bus over to my house, or would you take the last plane over the West Coast? Phoenix times like these with the... So, again, we played this game in a rush to try to get something out for Valentine's Day, but you know what? This game is perfect for Valentine's Day. If you are sitting around with your significant other, this is a perfect 2-player game that might, spark the Valentine's feelings for you, or maybe not, or it's maybe even better if you don't have a special somebody this Valentine's Day and just want a funny, sweet, quirky game that sort of makes fun of the entire idea of dating. I would recommend this to almost anybody. It's available on Steam for Windows, Mac, and Linux, and I think it's $12 on normal price, or like $11.99 or whatever. And it seems to go on sale occasionally. They're about to have, like Laura mentioned earlier, a big DLC coming out. I wasn't clear whether that was going to be a free update or whether that was going to be a paid DLC. Did you happen to see, Laura?
I believe this is their first paid DLC because it's quite large, but they've done 2 or 3 updates in the past, and they said they're going to continue doing seasonal updates in addition to the DLC. So
that's awesome. I'm super looking forward to playing some more of this, just as a thing to whip out every now and then and play a couple of rounds, just like you might a card game or something. And and of course you can find this game on Steam and also on the developer's website with it, which is monsterprom.pizza, which is awesome. I love their URL.
That is a phenomenal website.
Yeah.
Top level right there. Big fan of their website.
I kind of hope this game eventually comes to consoles, but given that it's been out since sort of relatively early last year and still hasn't, and I haven't seen anything about that, I think it probably isn't doing that. So, this would probably still be something to pick up on. I don't think it's worth waiting for a console release of this. If you happen to prefer that, I would just go ahead and grab it on Steam, play it on whatever computer you happen to have handy. It'll run on anything. So as longtime listeners to this show will probably already know, we have a segment that we like to call What's Making You Happy This Week? And you'll never guess what it's about. Laura, what's making you happy this week?
So this week, I've had a bit of a rough week. I'm also a piece of trash. So I'm revisiting a playlist called Europeans Love This on Spotify. It came out of a thread by at Moami _ on Twitter, who said, you know what? Here's a thread I want to call Songs That Get Europeans Turned, but now call songs that will, given an appropriately large number of Europeans in the room, get a significant number of them screaming the lyrics. Grab some beer, sangria, or mineral water, and let's go. And it's a huge thread. The songs are tacky and trashy and catchy as hell. I mean, it's got Dragonstei Dinte, it's got Mambo Number 5, Macarena, it's got Botan Anna, it's got Rasputin, Mamma Mia from ABBA, We Are Golden by Mika, it's Sex Bomb by Tom Jones. I went to a wedding in Dublin and half of these songs played and the Europeans went crazy and the Americans were just standing there being like, why is Sex Bomb playing? The answer is clearly this playlist, the secret playlist. And I did send this to my one and only friend who lives in Europe, who, when I sent this to, sent back a Snapchat of him singing half of the songs. And I was like, I guess this is accurate. So I was in a bit of a bad mood and I hit shuffle and it played Rasputin and then it played Grace Kelly by Mika. And I was like, yep, this delivered. So if you're having a bit of a tough time or you want some just trash, please, Europeans love this. It's
All
quite
right.
a great thread, and the Twitter thread has links to YouTube should you not have Spotify. Highly recommend.
All right, I will try to have links to both in the show notes, or at the very least, the Spotify playlist, which I've just got right here, and I'm definitely going to be putting on shuffle in my kitchen.
It's real dumb. It's great.
So I have been having a pretty good week, and I guess the first thing I would say that is making me happy this week, although I don't want to go too much into it right now, is Apex Legends. Have you guys checked it out at all yet?
Not yet.
I played a little bit. Yeah.
It's I'm what I'm actually mainly glad about. What makes me happy about Apex Legends is that I thought I was with Fortnite and PUBG. I thought I have finally found the line that I'm too old to cross. I finally found out like where it is I start feeling like an old man and can't understand the things that the youngs are into anymore. And I thought that the battle royale genre was that place for me, the place I will never go. And yet I downloaded and tried out Apex Legends, and it's super fun. I like it. So it's cool. If you're playing it, hit me up. I would totally like to play with some people. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about.
But before that, I want to know, Nate, what is your line? Because for me, it's the Grammys. What's your line where you feel too old to play?
Oh, I don't know if I have found that line yet.
Nate's still in the land of the youngs. Well, the other thing that's been making me happy.
Candy Crush.
Oh, God. Well, that makes us all feel. Well, actually, that's an old person thing as far as I've been able to tell.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. I was thinking the wrong way.
Yeah. So the thing that's been making me happy, spurred from a conversation I was having with Shane, and this was a while back. Shane and I were talking about how, and came out of a conversation where we were talking about magic cards and collectible card games, and then we somehow started talking about tarot cards. And I was telling him, like, I really, really like the art of tarot cards. I think that tarot cards are really interesting. Every time I see a tarot card deck, I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. But I also don't want to be the kind of person who collects tarot cards, because I feel like that's like a different thing, right? Like being the guy
liking Fortnite.
Right. Well, being the guy that has like a bunch of tarot cards and is like whipping them out to like tell people's fortunes or something is not quite the aspect of tarot cards that I'm interested in.
You did this in middle school for me?
I kind of did. I've been in all sorts. Yes. So here's the thing.
That's two steps though. There's acquiring tarot cards, and then there's confronting people to tell them their fortunes.
Yes, you're very much correct. So here's the thing that made me happy, and this is a gift from Shane that I really, really love. Shane found this thing called the Fantod pack, and it is a tarot deck by Edward Gorey.
Ooh.
And it's sort of a mini deck. It's only 20 cards. And it has a sort of a metafiction to it. It comes with a booklet that describes the Fantod deck as having come from a Madame Weird, who is of mixed Finnish and Egyptian extraction, has devoted her life to divination, and is the author of, among a shelf of works, Floating Tambourines, a collection of esoteric verse, and The Future Speaks Through Entrails, etc. So it comes with this great little, very Edward Gorey booklet that then describes the meanings of the cards. Who wants... somebody pick a number between 1 and 20, and I will pick a card for you, and we will discuss it.
17.
Whoa! Holy shit!
It's magic!
So, I think 17 is for sure the number. Oh, Laura, what just happened?
I don't know what just happened.
Both of your card is the limb. The limb is a very odd Edward Gorey-ish illustration of a prosthetic limb standing between two pull cords.
I think we're married, Nate.
And let's see. The limb, which in the symbology of the cards stands for February,
symbolism,
miscarriage of justice, gapes, a forged snapshot, morbid sensuations, a useless sacrifice, alopecia, a generalized calamity, broken promises, ignominy, an accident in a theater, fugues, and poverty.
I'm going to go with February, because that's the only positive one.
Here, we'll draw another. Give me a number between 1 and 10.
4.
All right.
We didn't do it again.
We'll go with 4. So this one is The Burning Head, an image of a very calm and passive-looking head that is on fire. The Burning Head stands in for Sunday, bafflement, loss of saliva, a forged deed, an impasse, extradition, a boating accident, chilblains, whatever that is, delayed desires, wandering sickness, evil companions, an impediment, and despondency. So great little non-tarot tarot deck full of Edward Gorey art and card meanings that mean absolutely nothing. And I've been having a lot of fun just sort of flipping through it and trying to find some inspiration for things. So recommended the Fantod deck.
Yeah, and for all our making fun of you, like I will say we are in a renaissance of illustrated tarot decks. Like a bunch of my favorite concept art illustrators have been doing tarot decks of their own. So we might be joining the Tarot Dark collection folk, even though we don't believe it in the slightest.
Hey, folks, if you see a cool tarot deck that doesn't make someone who owns it seem like a mystic and instead makes them seem like a cool dude, let me know, and maybe I'll check it out.
Is that why you purchase things, in order to be seen as a cool dude?
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, tarot cards are definitely where you need to start.
Nate, what has been making you happy this week?
Oh, all
Besides
sorts of
the sick
things.
Raygan burns.
Yeah,
all sorts of things. One, Raygan buying you, or Shane buying you, Raygan, a tarot deck. That's making me happy. I finally saw or caught up and saw the rest of Steven Universe, which I know you talked about, I think,
So
on
good.
this show a month or so ago. That was wonderful and just a really great ending to a season of a show. And also, my wife and us bought a house, so
Woo!
that's fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's been a
Congratulations.
whole lot of stuff. But yeah, we're super excited. So next month or so is going to be crazy, but very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for you. I've seen some photos. It looks like an awesome house, so we'll be over soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
So thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of The Short Game. You can find us on the internet at www.theshortgame.net, where you'll find a show notes page that's searchable. And we've done episodes on all sorts of games. Go there and search for a game that you're interested in, and there's a good chance that we've done an episode on it. Also, you can find our contact form there, which is a great way to get in touch with us. We love to hear from you, get suggestions on short games that we should be checking out. So if you've played a short game that you think would be a fit for the show, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. You can also find us on Twitter @_shortgame. And you can find me on Twitter @RayganK. That's RayGanK. Laura, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @Laura J. Nash. And since I mentioned it, on Pokemon Go, I'm Spider Laura.
Nice. Go trade her a Pikachu.
You can hit me up for my I know you gotta have a friend code and it's a really long stupid number I'm not gonna look up. Just just tweet me and I'll get you hooked up.
Nice.
No, Nintendo is great at online multiplayer. No way they would need such a thing as a friend code.
Not in 2019.
Yeah, definitely don't need to send a QR code to add anybody.
Nate, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter @NateSTL.
And thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Short Game.